Welcome to Build or Buy. We meet most Wednesdays from 1 to 3. Today, Ben's going to be our guest speaker. We're going to talk about SlingTV. I'm very interested in this. I know a lot of the rest of you will be as well. And did you send that link to me, Nick? The one about, the one that was on the Chronicle? The one that he was just talking about?
Page 23.
Oh, it's on page 23.
Sorry.
Well, if somebody can send me the link so we can talk about it, it's about the increase in speed on Comcast, so we can talk about it. That'd be great. Anyway, Ben's going to talk to us about SlingTV. We're going to have a Windows tip of the week I want to talk about, and I'm actually going to do a couple of them based on something that John Lum said a while ago about, I get this little dialog box on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Have you ever seen this? And by the time I saw it and blinked, it was gone. So I'm going to show you how to do a screen capture real easily in Windows 10. Microsoft has made that process easier. And the other shortcut I'm going to show, as I've been promising, I'm going to show you how to change the default storage location for stuff in Windows 10. I'll talk about it as it relates to Windows 10 about Windows 7 and show you a couple of things with a couple of links on how to make some of the changes. And I've got some updates on some stuff we talked about the security cameras. When Greg showed me about the security camera we talked about last week, I did some research on that, and for $20, a security camera that does 1080 is a great deal. But at $20, it only uses the cloud unless you can apply the hack, which I found, to make it work with Blue Iris. And any security camera's got to work with Blue Iris. So I want to go through some of that and talk about it. Because after we talked about that, then I went to, get that graphic off the screen. After that, I went to Costco the other day, and they're changing all their electronics, which I think means they're getting ready for some of the new stuff coming in March. Excuse me, in May. Because the stuff that was announced in March, we're going through the transition we're starting to hear about, but a lot of it's not going to be out until next month. So while I was there, I found a couple other security cameras, and I thought, you know, someone tells me someone says they have a high definition security camera. What they mean is it's 720, it's not 1080. And this $20 camera for 1080 looks even more enticing once you apply the hack. So I'm going to go through all that. So right now I want to go over to Ben's laptop, and Ben is going to talk to us about SlingTV. So let's go over to camera 1. He's got a mic on, he just needs to turn it on. There you go.
Let me start by saying that I got involved with SlingTV because I presently have UVerse, and I'm paying $260 a month for UVerse. I have 2 TVs. One is hardwired, the other is wireless. So for my wireless, I pay a couple of dollars a month more than what I do for my hardwired TV. And the price includes the internet, which the internet I'm paying $70 a month for internet, if you want to believe that. So I'm trying to get away from UVerse. So I've been doing some research with SlingTV. And a matter of fact, I've actually signed up for SlingTV, but I didn't drop my UVerse because I wanted to overlap to see if it had what I wanted. There's a couple of things that I've learned so far about SlingTV is that they don't carry local channels. Channel 2, 11, 13, and Channel 8 here in Houston are not on SlingTV. And if you want to get them, there's a couple of ways you can get them in addition to having SlingTV, is you can get an indoor antenna and try and bring it in. Or you can, like in my case, I can say, well, UVerse, I don't want your package, just give me the basic, and the basic is $20 a month, and that gets you your local channel. But that $20 a month goes in addition to what you're paying for your SlingTV. So it's quite a complicated thing to do the math on this and look at the channels you want. Before I went into SlingTV, I made a list of the must channels I watch. And it included about 5 or 6 channels. There were channels like local channels, of course. And I wanted the baseball channel for Astros.
So what made you decide to go to SlingTV?
I just heard about it, that it was cheaper and I could get what I wanted. So that's why I got involved with it, and it's quite a complicated system. I still don't get, even though I got SlingTV, I don't get my local channels, and I don't get my baseball channel. Now, when I signed up for it, I specifically asked SlingTV if I will get my Astros baseball channel, and they said there should be no problem. Well, there is. I don't get it. Why I don't get it? Yesterday alone, I spent at least 2 hours, and I was talking to a lady that she's just sales. She doesn't know, she didn't know what I was talking about, to be honest with you. And I asked, after a while, I asked for a technician, and the technicians were too busy. They said, this lady said they will call me back. Well, I haven't got a call back yet, so I've got to get involved with them again. So there's a lot of things I don't know, but some things I do know. I'll bring it up here. This is their site. You type in SlingTV.com, and this is their site. And if you look on the left here, it says $20 for 25 channels, and you can see the 25 channels that you get. The good thing about SlingTV, which I like, you don't get any marketing channels. You don't get any. I don't get any Spanish channels. I don't get any music channels. The thing about Hispanic, you can get Spanish channels if you apply for them, but I don't want them, so I don't have them. This is the first one. Is $20 to get 25 channels. They call it the orange, and these are the channels that you get, as you see on here. Now, let me see.
I know this is a streaming channel.
They're all streaming channels.
So
okay, the thing I did before I signed up, I went to SlingTV. I phoned them, and I said to them, "How does the signal come into the house?" UVerse comes in on cable. DirecTV comes on dish.
Right.
The lady couldn't tell me how the signal comes into my house.
Wow.
So she did. This is when I first signed up. She transferred me over to a technician, which went on the line right away, and the technician says it's on your internet. So the signal comes through the internet. So as long as you're on the internet with your laptop and that, you don't need anything else. You don't need a new modem or anything else.
So who do you use for internet right now? UVerse?
Yes, I have used UVerse for internet.
So you have UVerse for internet, and you got rid of UVerse TV.
Right.
Okay.
And I got SlingTV on UVerse internet.
Okay.
Now, SlingTV does not have internet, and I talked to the technician, and they're saying they're going to be 1 or 2 years. Well, they're not going to have it. That's my opinion. But so you use somebody else's internet service to bring in their SlingTV. So the $20 cost, you get 25 channels. I have the next one, which is $25. They call it the blue, and they're the channels I get. Now.
And it's $25 a month.
$25 a month. Now, what do you need? There's what you need. This is a Roku device with a remote control. It's a free Roku Express. Roku Express is the name of the Roku device. It's free, but you have to sign up for 2 months. With SlingTV, there's no contracts. There's no obligation. You can take it for a month, you can take it for half a month and cancel, whatever you want. The only reason why you have to sign up for 2 months is they're giving you a free Roku device.
Not bad.
So you pay 2 months of what your SlingTV is costing. You don't pay for the device. So if you're, like my TV is costing me $32 a month, that's including taxes and everything. SlingTV has cost me $32 a month, so I pay $64 up front, which is 2 months of TV, and they give me this Roku Express for free. Now, if you take the yellow package, you can have it on 2 devices for $20.
So there's blue, orange, and yellow.
No, there's blue. I don't know what the other. Let me look at the other colors. There's on the left here, the $20 one. This is yellow.
Okay.
The $25 one, which is 40 channels, is blue, and then there's a $50 one, which is a $40 one, which is 50 channels. They don't have a color for that.
Okay.
Now, the yellow one, which is $20 a month, you put it on 2 devices. You can select any device you want. When you sign up, you pay the 2 months in advance. Oh, yeah, you pay 2 months in advance, and they send you the Roku free. What they do is they take your credit card and they ding your credit card every month. It's done automatically. And anytime you want to cancel it, you call them and cancel it, and they're not charged you're not charged anymore.
Done deal.
It's finished. Now, if you need a Roku device for every TV, but what I do is I had 2 TVs of UVerse. So I have the blue, so I get 3 devices. So that means I have 2 TVs and I have another device, so I've got it on my laptop here. The difference of the TVs and the laptop is the TVs, you need Roku device. The laptop, it's done with an app. You download an app directly from SlingTV, and you can run with the SlingTV on your laptop.
What resolution do you get? Do you know?
Don't know. Don't know.
Haven't gotten that far.
Haven't got that far. The thing that I'm interested in is I want to dump this $260 a month. That's
Sure.
why I'm getting involved with SlingTV.
Sure.
But I cannot get my baseball channel.
The Astros.
And I phoned them yesterday, and like I told you, I talked to the lady, and I went around, and finally she said, I better get you a technician, and then I'm waiting for the technician to call. So but when I signed up initially, I said to the woman, do I get these channels? And they said, no, you don't get local channels. You need an indoor antenna, or you need a basic cable. All right. What about my baseball channel? No problem, you get your baseball channel. Well, you don't get the baseball channel, you get baseball through Fox. And if Fox doesn't carry it, you don't get it on SlingTV. That's something I found out. They do not have Astros channel. They have the sports through Fox TV.
They have MLB, Major League Baseball.
Right. And if they, pardon, sorry?
Fox Network or Fox Sports?
Fox Sports. And if they don't carry it, you don't get it.
Let's remind everybody, if you would please, when you all ask a question, raise your hand so we can get a mic on you. Thanks, Robert. Thanks, Jack. So that way everybody on the internet can hear you.
What I did is I bought an indoor antenna to get because I said to them, if I get an indoor antenna, will I get local channels? They said yes.
So whose antenna did you get?
I got, okay, let's go here. I'll show you.
And of course, with a regular antenna, you get whatever's available, and you get it in 1080 resolution.
Here's a site for that I went. Channel Master Antenna.
So you went to Channel Master on Amazon or channelmaster.com?
No, I'm trying looking for, I went to channelmaster.com. Channelmaster.com. Oh, that's outdoor. That's not what I want. That's outdoor.
Did you get an antenna that mounts in the house or one that mounts outside?
In the house.
So it's one of those flat ones that,
Yep.
that sticks on the wall or sticks on the window?
Yep. There it is there. Channel Master antenna.
How far are you from the antenna farm?
How far are you from the antenna farm?
Okay, here's the map.
Like, what's your address?
Well, it doesn't matter. I just thought he might know.
Basically, where part of town does he live in it's in relationship to the antenna? In Sugarland? Sugarland?
Here's the guide for selecting an antenna. You put in your zip code and you check. Now here's the guide for 77077. This is what they tell you the antenna will pick up. Now if you look on the map, you need to be in the line of sight, and if you see the circle here, that's where I am. That's my location.
Wow.
And there's the line of sight, as you can see there. Now, what I found out, if you look here on the left side of the chart, just above the green symbols, UHF, UHF, UHF.
So according to that map, you're about 20 miles away?
Well, here's the mileage here. If you look on here, it tells you how far. I'm 14 miles away.
So you should get pretty good reception from those majority channels.
Right.
Now with that information, it also recommends an antenna?
I don't understand.
Channel Master sells different antennas. This map we're looking at, does it recommend a specific antenna or it just says any of the antennas?
You have, yeah, this is any antenna you want to use.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Now, I don't see what I'm trying to show you here. Here.
PBS?
See, from here up, from SlingTV up, are all UHF. From SlingTV down, they're high video. Now, you see the first one says PBS, which is the one I want, which is channel 8. Well, I found out when I put this antenna on my TV, I got all the UHF, but I don't get anything. I don't get the high V. I tried moving it around, and if you notice, PBS is in there, which is one of the channels that I wanted. So I don't get it. The antenna doesn't pick it up. ABC is another one I wanted. It doesn't pick it up. So what I'm saying is that the only local channel it did pick up for me was NBC, which is channel 2.
Right.
But channel 11, 13, and PBS, it doesn't pick up, so I'm not getting three channels, three of the channels that I want.
Would it help if you changed the position of the antenna?
I tried it.
And didn't do any good?
What I found, it's a flat antenna.
Because from where you're at, the antenna needs to face south. Actually, kind of south-southeast.
Well, I put it flat against the wall.
Okay.
This is this would be an east wall, and I got ghosting on most of the channels.
That's no good.
That the antenna picked up.
That's no good.
I took it and put it on a north wall, and I got it cleared up. All the pixelating and the tearing went away from the picture.
Interesting.
But I still didn't get the
PBS that you wanted.
Yeah, the high VHS that I wanted. So, but I got all the UF channels, so there's quite a few of them that I got, but I'm not interested in them.
Right.
So the indoor antenna doesn't solve the problem. What I found out would solve my problem is I have UVerse, and if I take UVerse Basic, it costs me $20 a month, and for $20 a month I get my local channels.
Okay.
Which is all the news channels plus PBS.
Right.
So I'm paying $34. Okay, I'm paying $34 for what I have, because I have on Sling I have an extra channel, an extra package. I mean, sorry. If you go down here, if you look here on the left of the screen, you see Sling Orange and Sling Blue.
Right.
These are comedy extras. For $5 a month, you get these comedy channels, which is these 8 channels down here. If that's what you want, comedy, and you get a couple more. You get one more. All right, for $5 a month on Orange. If you click on Blue, it's the same price. You only get these 4 channels. You're missing 1 channel, so it's got that. Now, here is the
sports.
Here is the selection here. I'm
Right.
on comedy. If I go to sports, I click on sports, $5 a month, and these are the channels I get. But if you know, well, you can't tell, but Astro's channel is not here on this. And I thought getting this, they told me that I would get my Astros channel, and I'm not. So I'm in discussion with them about how to overcome this. So you can get news. There's news channels that you get. This is $5 a month. This is in addition to the basic.
Got you.
So I have one of these. I got this one.
Lifestyle.
No, I don't have that one. That's not the one I have. But there, you just click on and you see what you get. This is a la carte. These are premium. You pay extra money. It goes up higher. Here's the one I got. Hollywood. I add this. I like my TCM and reels.
Yes.
So I took this package in addition to the basic. So the basic has cost me $25, $5 for this, and then tax is $32.
Okay. So you're still coming out ahead.
Oh yeah, still coming out ahead. Now with $32, if I take UVerse Basic to get my local channels for $20, I'm up to $52. Plus my internet, which is $70, I'm up to $120 versus $260.
You're still better off.
I'm still better off.
Even though it's a hassle.
Do you have your baseball?
Pardon?
Did you get your baseball channel?
No.
So you still don't have baseball?
I'm still in discussion with them. They're waiting for them to call me.
Now, do you have to have a switch to go between your UVerse and your Sling?
Yes.
A physical,
No, you do it.
a physical switch?
Yeah, what I found with SlingTV, you need 2 remote devices, one for your TV and one for your Roku device. Now, what I do is I have my TV controller, and I switch between HDMI 1, HDMI 2, and TV. TV is the my local channel, my local antenna that I installed. HDMI is UVerse. HDMI 1 is UVerse, and HDMI 2 is SlingTV.
Through the Roku.
So you need. See, with what I have with UVerse, you just have one control. It controls everything. But with Sling, you need 2 devices when you set it up like I'm setting it up. 2
Okay,
remote
you're
devices.
getting 2, 11, 13 PBS with UVerse.
UVerse Basic, yes.
Okay.
UVerse Basic. I don't know what Comcast or any of the others are like, DirecTV, I don't know how they do it. So here's, going through, here's Heartland. $5 extra if you want to watch any of these channels that are your favorites. Here's international.
Now, one thing I want to interject is, because Nick was commenting about his TV, I know he has a Samsung. According to what I've read, Sling will work with an LG TV directly, and it will also work directly with a Samsung TV.
Okay.
So it would be one of the smart apps on that TV.
Yeah,
you wouldn't have to have a separate Roku device.
They supply you with an app or the Roku device, and my TVs need the Roku device.
What brand TV?
I think it's a Samsung. The one I have
it's
downstairs.
an older?
Oh yeah, it's an older one.
Okay.
That's why I needed Roku. I told them, they asked me how old your TV was. And it's not a smart TV, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
So you need a Roku device.
You've got a smart TV, so it'll work with yours.
Now, if you need 2 Roku devices, you get this one for free if you pay, like I said, pay 2 months in advance. And you want another Roku device for one of your other TVs, you go to Walmart and buy one for $20.
Not bad.
And it's a one-time charge. What I'm saying is, UVerse, when you get a box and it's $20, they charge you $20 a month.
$20 a month versus $20 one-time purchase,
Yeah.
and you're done. Yes, Nick?
I have an Amazon Fire TV, which is like Roku. It plugs into an HDMI port.
Right,
It's powered with a wall wart.
right.
And I'm wondering if Sling would work with it. I would suppose it would. Now that's a TV that's not a smart TV. That's a,
I don't know if it would, or I can't tell you that.
Do you have HDMI input?
Can you raise your hand, anybody that's got a question, so that way everybody can hear you on the internet?
So I can run over here.
So, Nick, do you have HDMI inputs on that TV? I bet it would then.
In the affirmative.
Here's an extra package. It's broadcast, and they say ABC is available. But it says, if you notice, it's very fine, it says select markets.
And it's $10 a month.
And it's $10 a month. So, you got to do a lot of research. Here's Espanol. If you need Spanish television, there it is there. There's the channels that you get for $5 a month. You get these Spanish channels. Here's one for kids, and then we're back to comedy.
I want to interject some more about what Nick had asked a second ago. If you go to sling.com/devices, this shows all the devices they work with, and it shows Apple TV, Roku, the Amazon Fire TV that you asked about, Chromecast, Android TV, Lico, Air TV player, I don't know what that is, LG and Samsung, of course that's the LG and Samsung smart TVs. So if you've got an Amazon Fire TV, there'll be a channel for Sling, so you can watch it right off of that. But you can also watch it directly right off the Samsung TV, so you don't have to use one of your HDMI inputs, unless you choose to, since you've got a smart TV. Can we get a mic over there on Tom so we can hear him? Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Robert. Oh, good. Yes, Tom. Tom Tyner. Sorry.
They had Sling before they had smart TVs. Unless they've made some changes, it should work with the old TVs. I looked into Sling, some 10 years ago, maybe more than that.
Did you ever get involved with it?
No, I didn't. I considered it, but I didn't do it.
Nick Streeter sent me a link about Comcast. I've got an article there I want to share with you guys that Robert was talking about a while ago. Comcast bumps up speeds again, but only for those with cable TV. The speed will only be available to Comcast customers who have the latest X1 modem, which uses the DOCSIS 3.1 cable interconnect standard. Continues on B7. Well, this is the link he sent me. So let's see, this says well, I'll just go through it. Customers who have the 60 megabit tier and whose internet service is bundled with up to 4 other Comcast products will see their download speed jump to 150 megabit. Customers on the 150 megabit tier with the starter or triple play packages will increase to 250. And customers with a 250 megabit service will see their speeds jump to either 400 megabit or 1 gigabit, depending on their package. Wow. Well, I've got a DOCSIS 3.1 cable modem, and I'm curious if it has to be their device or if it can be used on my device. I'm going to have to look into that because I would like to know. I'd like to know more about it. So this was in the Chronicle on the what page today?
3
Page 23.
today.
What'd you say, Nick?
Hang on.
This says continues on B7. So the way this comes up, it shows InfoWeb
It
News.
said that it was on A23, but it's actually on B1, and then the continuation's on B7.
B1 and B7. Okay. So anyway, that's curious. Why the speed, like we talked about last week? I do a lot of audio libraries, but I'm kind of unique. But I'm still curious what it's going to take. Now, this little thing that Comcast is doing is just before we see whatever AT&T is going to do. You don't need this kind of bandwidth, though, if you're doing SlingTV, because what's your internet speed right now you have?
Don't know.
Do you have whatever the default lowest is?
I really don't know.
You didn't ask for any increased bandwidth. You just took
No,
whatever.
no,
Okay.
no.
You've probably got maybe a 4 megabit connection,
I don't have any trouble with my with the Sling.
and everything looks good,
Everything looks good.
and you get it
There's
full
no
resolution.
stalling or no tearing or nothing.
Nice. So how long have you been using the device?
2 weeks.
Brand spanking new.
2 weeks. Yeah.
Did they
I'm
give
still
you?
learning, and I'm trying to find out. I'm really trying to find out what they give me and what my options are.
Did they give you any kind of time frame when this technician would get back to you?
No. They
Okay.
just said you'll get a call back. I'm going to bug them. I'm here. I would have been bugging them today, but I'm here today. I can't do that.
Well, I'm glad you're sharing this because I know a lot of other people would be interested in this. Anything we can do to either cut the cord, cut the cost.
You know, $260 a month. That's. I don't watch TV. I got, I don't know, 200 channels with Universe. I watch about 5 channels.
I hear you.
I watch maybe. You know, what's the point? And if I could get the 5 channels for $100 or something, or less than $100, fine. Then I just use Uverse for internet. And Uverse, I see them advertising high-speed internet for $20, $25. Here I'm paying $70. Why? And I've been with them from 1995. I've had.
You went to DSL and all that.
I had AT&T internet since 1995. They didn't have Uverse then, of course, and then it came on. So I've had internet since 1995.
Excuse me. They advertise high-speed internet, but they don't say what it is.
Right. And it's not high speed. It's
Yeah,
just
they're-
internet.
I had a lady come out to knocked on my door one day, about two weeks ago. She wants to sell me DirecTV. Well, DirecTV is AT&T.
Right.
And I've got Uverse, so why is she trying to have me dump one AT&T to take another AT&T? I have no idea.
Initially, it looks cheaper, but when I went through the channel lineup and added up all the channels I wanted, it was not going to be cheaper.
Well, the thing is, this woman, she starts off with a spiel saying, we have installed fiber optics all through your neighborhood. You will get your TV on fiber optics.
When?
And it's the fastest, she didn't have to tell me, it's the fastest you can get, it's better than copper, blah, 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 blah. Well, she gives me this big spiel, and I said to her, what's the company? She says, DirecTV. I said, do I need an antenna? She says, yes. Now, do you see what the thing is here?
Yeah.
I'm getting fiber optics, I'm getting all this speed, but I need an antenna. Unbelievable.
One or the other, I don't need both.
Unbelievable.
Well, is it that when you get DirecTV, your TV is actually coming by satellite and your internet is coming by the fiber optic?
I don't know.
Pardon?
I don't know.
I mean, AT&T is bound and determined to dump UVerse.
Yeah, they're
Oh, yeah.
trying. They're trying to.
AT&T are going back to their old system. They made money off of telephone and copper. Now they're going to make money off of fiber optics. They're going to rent all this fiber optics out to anybody who wants to use it, and that's where they're going to make their money. And they want to drop UVerse.
Can we talk TVs?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, anybody in here gotten one of the new Tickle TVs?
One of the new what?
Tickle.
Tickle TV.
TCL, the Chinese brand. That
Have the Roku built into them?
they do among, instead of using a proprietary smart TV interface that varies from LG to Samsung to whatever and is different each year
Right.
and is always poor, they've adopted Roku as their interface. It comes as part of it. But there are two outstanding aspects of their televisions. First of all, their price. They beat Vizio at Vizio's own game, and they also adopt Vizio's FALD, which is the process that that Vizio uses and pioneered. You remember that LED TVs are in themselves a variation of LCD, liquid crystal display. And what LED TVs do is they use light emitting diodes, LEDs, to shine lights at the LCDs and brighten them up. Most TVs do that by arranging the LEDs around the perimeter of the TV, the sides and the tops. Another way to do that is what Vizio does, is to divide the TV into zones, and behind the LCDs put LEDs in little blocks. The more blocks, the better.
And do you have a Vizio right now?
I do have a couple of Vizios.
Which one do you like the best?
Of the
Well, you have
what?
you have a Vizio and your dad has a Samsung. Which one do you think looks the best?
Oh, well, the Samsung. The Samsung was a $20,000 TV.
Wow.
You know, but
That's the curved one though.
It's a curved one, and,
Yeah.
and he didn't pay $20,000 for it. He paid $8,900 for it. But you could buy a TV, and that was like 2 years ago. But
Was OLED out then?
OLED was, but it was on the. It was barely available, and
Because LG was the first to come out with it.
that's
weren't they?
right. And let's save a discussion of OLEDs for a little bit later.
Sure.
And stay focused on the more common LCDs, LEDs. Anyway, so the Vizio, and not just Vizios, other manufacturers too. Sony has some where they divide them into the screen into zones, and these are called FALD. And I don't remember what the FALD stands for. Does anybody in here happen to know? All right, but it's a way of backlighting the LCD. Full array light display, yes. But TCL has been reviewed, has received better reviews than Vizio for Vizio's mainline products for the last couple of years. Now remember that Vizio makes lower priced, middle priced, and high priced, and their high priced are, they're very high priced are hard to get, and they're very, very, very expensive, $120,000 if you remember. And their high price, the P series, are very reasonable, to tell you the truth. I have a P series, and it's a good TV. Some of the M series, which is their next lower down, have been very highly rated in the past. And last year, 2017's, they the M series Vizio were pretty much hands down the bang for the buck.
So is the M series the one that you have?
No, I have a P series.
You got the P.
Okay, which is superior to the M series. But but this year, TCL has increasingly upped their game. Their lower price products have adopted better quality, and they're reaching into the medium quality, medium to better than medium quality at rock bottom prices. For instance, next month they'll have a new 65-inch TV, 4K HDR that has, and remember one of the things about the Vizio's P series and their R series is that they have Dolby Vision as well as HDR, and these TCLs are increasingly, I hear them called tickle TVs.
Do they have HDR
They
on them?
have Dolby Vision and HDR.
Interesting.
I mean, that's really
Well, according
amazing.
to what Tom said, HDR was the way to go, and I agree with what Tom said. It makes a world of difference.
Oh, it does.
I couldn't believe it till I saw it.
And if you get some really nice devices, like I have the new Apple 4K, Apple TV 4K, and the new Roku 4K, and they really show off stuff. Now, I'm a big fan of Xfinity also.
Comcast Xfinity?
Yeah. Their ease of use is just amazing. And with the Xfinity, you can just push a button and say, you know, MSNBC or CNN or Fox. I'm sorry.
Remember when we had to get up and go change the channels manually?
Or you can go Netflix, and Netflix will, if you have a Netflix subscription, it will come in over your Xfinity, and it'll switch right to that without having to go to, for instance, your Roku device. And depending on your particular connection with Xfinity, what you get streaming can rival from what you get from the Roku 4K box itself. It's pretty amazing.
Do you have a Roku?
I do. I have the Roku 4K, and I have the Apple 4K, the Apple TV 4K, and
do you like the
I
quality?
like them both. Yeah, I like them both.
You like the content?
Yeah. Oh yeah. My wife wants to subscribe to all these other little things, like we get Hulu. Oh, and by the way, if you guys haven't tried Hulu, you ought to do a free subscription this month for. There's a series that Texan journalist from Dallas by the name of Lawrence Wright, who was with Texas Monthly for a while, and he was a correspondent in the Middle East for a long time. He wrote a book that has been serialized on television with first-rate actors called The Looming Tower, that is about everything that the FBI and CIA did wrong before 9/11. And it's an amazing series. It's just out this month. And,
Good to know.
And
it's on Hulu.
Hulu, and you can get a free subscription for a month with.
Robert, do you have a
Hulu.
comment?
Yeah, I wanted to ask David, where do you go to get the content by which you can say that these 4K devices are so much better?
They're
Or
there.
Where do you see the betterness?
Netflix,
So they
Hulu.
broadcast in 4K?
Yeah.
Or they downstream
Or they
feed?
stream in 4K.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, not all of their things are 4K,
Yeah.
but and with Xfinity, I can get the 4K streaming through Netflix also. Through my.
I'm about to buy a Roku, and I was wondering if there's any point in getting the 4K.
Of
And
course,
so
yeah.
now if
I mean, you're a
Netflix
fool
is-
not to get. You're a fool to buy the.
Well, my TV won't display it.
Well,
So-
your TV will only last so long.
Well, that will only last so long too.
Okay.
But okay, if there is source
All right.
material out there,
You remember I was telling you about that TCL TV that was so great and such. They have a 55-inch for $650.
I saw
4K.
something like that.
And
That's what I have, and I paid $2,000 for it in
Right.
2011, and now you can get it for $600.
Yeah, and next month they're going to have a 65-inch for not much more than $650.
Well, at any rate, if the material is readily available, that makes me think that I ought to go ahead and get the 4K, even
Oh,
though
yeah.
I can't see it.
No,
Because it's there, so someday maybe I will. So that answers my
Yeah.
question. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, well,
And-
that's good to know. I appreciate you sharing that with us, David. I want to get back now to the Windows tip that I promised you guys I was going to show. John Lum, you commented about that screen. Did you ever get that back up? Okay, well, I'm going to show you how a shortcut to do this with. There's two shortcuts I'm going to show you today for a Windows tip of the day. When you want to capture a screen in Windows, it automatically, whether this is the first time or second time, use the Windows flag print screen. The screen will go dim and it'll save a copy of that. So when you bring up the Windows flag E, and if you look in your recent files, it'll show a screenshot with a number on it. And it creates this PC for the local user, pictures, screenshots, and it'll show that image that you saved, that you can then send, email, or whatever, and it'll have whatever kind of dialogue on the screen that you're trying to show. So that was one tip I wasn't planning on showing, but it's worth reminding us to remember that when you need to have a screen capture because you're trying to say, have you seen this problem, how do you solve it? Capture the screen so we can see it and have a moment to read it. Because like I said, when you showed that to me earlier, that popped up. It was gone by the time I blinked, and I have no idea what it said. Which brings up an interesting point before I show you the next tip of the day, which I talked to Robert Carter before that I said I was going to show how to change the default storage device. Has anybody tried the different operating system React OS? It's a Windows operating system, and it's not by Microsoft. It's built on the Windows NT kernel. It's in alpha, and you can go to React OS. You can download a live image of it where you can run it off of a CD or a USB drive, or you can actually install it. We've talked about it before, but I kept hoping somebody here would have tried it. Nobody has yet. So it looks like I'm going to be the guinea pig. At some point in the future, we'll take a look at it and walk through it. Because after all these little things that Microsoft keeps doing that get a little bit annoying, I think it's time we look at alternatives. And it's not Linux. It's based on the Windows kernel. Something to think about. Okay, that keyboard shortcut that I was going to show you, remember, Windows has two control panels. There's the old control panel, and then there's the new control panel, and the new control panel is Windows Settings. So I'm going to go to Windows Settings, I'm going to click on System, and down here under Storage. Now this is the way Windows 10 does it. When I click on Storage, it shows the drives that I have in this machine, and down here under More Storage Settings, I can change where new content is saved. And from here, the default is C. I can tell it to go wherever I want, depending on what drives are connected. This is where you want to change it. Now with Windows 7, it's a little bit different, and I'm going to show you a couple of links in the talking points that talks about another way to do this. But the way Windows 7 did it and the way Windows 10 did it, you know, Microsoft, again, changing things for the sake of change. When I bring up Windows flag E, if you'll notice here, I have quick access, OneDrive, which I have turned off, this PC, network, and home storage, and then the network computers show up. If I right-click in this area, there's a menu for Show Libraries. Once I show these libraries, I'm going to go to a link that talks about this because that is off by default. That was on by default in Windows 7. If I show those libraries, then there's another way I can change the default of where documents are saved. So let me go back over to Builder By, and I'm going to go to Talking Points. So I'm going to close this screen for just a minute. I'll bring up the browser. Let's go to Builder By, and I'll save this document for this date, and I'll put the link up in the video after this is done. Talking point number 2, Win Arrow. Set the default save location for library in Windows 10. I'll hold down the control key. I'm going to bring this up. We're going to go to this. Now, on a side note, before I get further into this, I want to remind everybody, we're streaming this meeting live. My original intention was when we streamed live, I would set the file with a generic name, and then I would go up afterwards and change it according to what we talked about. That I no longer can do. I have to set the name of that file in the beginning, and here's why. For those of you that log into YouTube, on the upper right-hand corner, when you log into your account or when you go to YouTube, there'll be a little bar that says Builder By is streaming. It will show the name of that file, and at the same time, Google is also taking that, because this is YouTube Google. YouTube is taking that information, putting it on Google, and putting a URL up for us. If I change the name of that file, it changes that URL. It blows that information out. So what I'm telling you is when I put the file up to stream, when I set the file, and I'm going to go to Builder By and show you. When we go to YouTube, we have a video that is streaming. And the video that is streaming, I've already set the title. What is SlingTV plus change Windows default storage space? People that are looking for that information, that's how they will find that file. Even though we have 171 subscribers now, those 171 subscribers are mostly new people. There's thousands of other people that don't know about Builder By. So if I put up a generic name and change it after the fact, we would lose the capability that YouTube gives us to when you log on in the upper right-hand corner of a video. If I were to log on to this one, in the upper right-hand corner, a little dialog box pops up in here that says Builder By is live streaming, and it will give the name of the file. But if I change the name of the file, that blows that out. So to maximize our exposure, I'm telling you how this is set, I'm telling you why I do this, and I'm telling you how we follow this. Other things we talk about, great, that's what we always do. But when we have a plan on what we're going to talk about, for example, this file, I had a generic, and that's when I realized when I changed the name, I messed things up. I put the name up according to what we're going to talk about, plus the other things. Now, in here where it says show more, I go through and I watch the video myself, and under the talking points, I put all this in of the things we talked about. And if you notice the timeline, 7:23, or down here 16:40, I put that information in after the fact, so if somebody wants to go to just that information, they can click on that and go just to that part of that video. They don't have to watch all 2 hours of our meeting. So I'm telling you all that now so you understand the topic we talk about and why we have to know in advance. So with that said, I'm going to go back over here now and I'm going to show you this Windows tip of the day, which is actually number 1 of 2 tips. The first tip we had was how to do a screen capture in Windows, real easy. And number 2 is how to set the default location. Now this talks about set save location for library in Windows 10. And this talks about libraries. And as I showed you, by default, libraries is off. It's there, but it's off. In Windows 7, it's on. So I'm only going to be able to show this to you as it relates to Windows 10, because to show specifically how Windows 7 does it, I have to have Windows 7 in front of me. All these computers are Windows 10. You're Windows 10?
Yes.
Yeah, once you make that step, once you cross that road. And I'm going to be curious how all this relates to React OS to see what React OS looks like. So libraries turned on. The default save location option, you can specify the folder in a library where a file or another folder will be stored when you copy, move, or save directly to the library. If you have, and this is an important thing, important step to understand, if you have OneDrive turned on, by default, that wants to be the default location. Remember, there's 2 ways you can create an account on Windows. You can have a local account or you can have the Windows account. If you go to the Microsoft store, it'll change your local account to the Windows Online account. And they want to do that to sync your stuff. That puts them in control. And the reason I say that puts them in control, what if you violate their EULA and they decide to turn off your account? Hadn't thought about it. Nobody thought about that. I'm going to go back over to Builder Bono and show you a link. We didn't get a chance to talk about this a couple of weeks ago, and there's actually two different articles, but the one I'm going to show you is talking point number 21, Tom's Hardware. Microsoft prohibits use of offensive language on Skype, Xbox Live, or other services. They can terminate your account. The same thing goes for Google, like YouTube. They can terminate your account. So if you create an account that's online, for whatever reason, they determine your language to be offensive, whatever that might be, they can terminate your account, which means all the stuff that you would have access to could be gone. Eye-opener? So when we talk about setting up a new laptop, a local account versus an online account, that's another reason why I say you need to take ownership of your stuff and not let these vendors do that, because they could change their mind for whatever reason. So that's something to be aware of. So we go back over to this default. Open File Explorer, open the desired library, and on the ribbon, see the Library Tools section and click to Manage. This is one article that talks about how to do it. There are several I have up here. This is one from WinArrow. Hold a minute, let me finish. Here's one on How to Geek, which is really good for Windows 7. Change the default save folder for Windows 7 libraries to something else like your Dropbox. Now, you can change this stuff to anything you want. Because you can doesn't mean you should. For example, say you have a computer that has a couple of drives. Sometimes you have drive number 2 removed. Sometimes drive number 2 is installed. Have you ever noticed when Microsoft does their updates, that file, whatever they create, they will put it on the drive that has the most space? What if next time that drive that had the most space happens to be removed? Windows might mess up. Those updates might not occur because it's looking for something that doesn't exist. And there are also some applications that will automate the process to change these saved locations for you. I'm going to go to another computer and show you. That's a laptop. I'm going to go to this computer for just a minute. Let's go to input number 3. I'm going to bring up Explorer. I'm going to show this two ways. Here's this PC. I have 1, 2, 3 drives in here. Now, I could set this computer to let Windows handle how it saves things, and I can change it, but I'm using the default. And the reason I am is because of the way I use this machine. The C drive is an NVMe drive. I've labeled it as such so that I don't get confused. The secondary drive where I do all my work, because this machine is for video editing only, is a 2 terabyte. And the third drive that's in here, when I'm through editing, when I finished whatever I'm working on, I take stuff off that 2 terabyte drive, I dump it to that 5 terabyte drive, and then I keep working. But the stuff that's on C, all the applications, I tell all the applications to install on C, because I also use this for the graphics we use here at the meeting, and it's important to keep that stuff on C. On another machine that I use for audio, same thing. All those audio libraries go to C. Looking at it this way, there's 3 drives. So now I'm going to bring up that other control panel, which is Windows Flag I. Different view, same thing. I'm going to go to System. I'm going to go to Storage. Shows the 3 drives that are in the machine, shows the free space. That last drive has the most space. And right here, change where new content is saved. When I click on that, I can change that, but I have not, and I'm not going to. Like I said, some things you can, it doesn't mean you should. But if you want to, there it is. Real easy. So now I'm going to go back over to this other computer, which is the laptop. Let's go to input number 2.
Where did you get that option to change where new things are stored? How did you make that come up?
How do I make that come up? Okay. This is for Windows 10. Now, Windows 10 has two control panels, the original control panel and the new control panel. The new control panel is Windows flag I. That's called Windows Settings. And we got to start getting acquainted because this is really the new control panel. Change for the sake of change. I'm going to click on System, the very first one. And then I'm going to scroll down to where it says Storage. And I'm going to click on Storage. Then on the right side, I'm going to scroll down where it says More Storage Settings, change where new content is saved. Click on that, and that's where you do it. Change where new content is saved. And you can select whatever drives are attached, whether it be internal or external. But you want to remember, and it could be online, but you want to remember whatever you set has got to be there for that to work. Otherwise, it'll revert back to whatever the default is, which would probably be the C drive. So it needs to be something internal. But it could be an external, or it could be online if you have an online account. But that's where you change it. You've got your maps, TV shows and movies, photos and videos, music, documents, and where apps are saved. So I'm going to close that. I'll bring it up again. This is the second control panel. The Windows flag I, and that's Windows Settings. I'll go to the first icon, which is System. I'll click on System. I'll go down to Storage, click on Storage, and over here on the right-hand side, More Storage Settings, change where new content is saved. Now we've titled this video on SlingTV that Ben has showed us, and the secondary thing was what I'm showing you now, so if anybody else is looking and we're trying to get more people to subscribe, they'll be able to find it, and we showed it to them. And then the other stuff we're going to talk about will be gravy. But that's what's in the file name. So I've shared with y'all the rhyme and reason to it. Nick, thanks for coming. Hope we see you next week. Take care. And tell Joe we look forward to seeing him. So any questions about how to do that?
7.
Well, the best I can do for you on Windows 7 is refer you to this link, number 3 talking point. Change the default save folder for Windows 7 libraries or something like your Dropbox. I'll hold down the control key and bring that up because that's the best I can do since I don't have Windows 7 in front of me. There's several methods here. Number 1, change the default save location. You can simply click the includes 3 locations, which is a little bitty window right here at the top. But that's under your library. And I showed you how to turn a library on. From here, you can easily add or remove locations, and if you right-click, you can choose Set as Default Save Location. Change how this library gathers its content, and if you'll notice, when you right-click on it, Set as Default Save Location. That's how it works in Windows 7. And there's a method number 2. You can also head to Windows Explorer down to the Libraries section, right-click on any of the libraries and choose Properties. You know, again, we just got used to doing things one way, and Microsoft comes in and changes it again. Just enough to make you have to go hunt for it, just enough to make you have to think about it. And simple things like this shouldn't keep changing. It's not change for something better, it's change for the sake of change. I think it's how somebody justifies their job.
Yeah, I think that's how they justify the new operating system. They just change things, and now you got to go learn it again.
I'm looking forward to React OS. I'm going to try it. We're going to look at it one of these days, and I'll tell you what I think of it. It's probably going to be 2 or 3 months because I'm a little bit tapped for time right now. But it's something we need to look at, something you can be expecting. This will take you into the extended library properties window where you can go down and put this stuff where you want it. Set save location. Screenshots, he showed Dropbox. You could use Dropbox or you could use Microsoft stuff if you're inclined to. But knowing that they could shut your account, cut you off, I'm inclined not to when I found that out about Skype.
I have a question about accounts.
User accounts?
Well, that was my question. I've never come across the concept of account before. And where does that happen, that you would have a Microsoft account? Is that because Windows 10, you don't have the material or access to it, that they've got it and they can just shut down your computer? You can lose Windows 10? Is that what you're saying?
They could shut your account.
Oh.
If they could shut your Skype account down, they could also shut your online account down.
Okay, well, what is an online account? So I'm saying I don't understand the word account associated with a computer.
When you install Windows, you can have either a local account, which is what we advocate, or you can have an online account. The online account, well, the reason they sell that, the reason they advocate that, the reason they want that is so you can sync all your data across multiple computers and devices, whatever they are. When you log into that account, everything looks the same, whatever device you're on. Sounds great, doesn't it?
No, I've never seen the word account. If it was there, I just blew over it without reading it. I don't understand. I've installed many operating systems, but I don't recall ever doing anything about an account. And so that may just be my ignorance.
I'm going into the old control panel. I'm going to go to user account. And I've got change your account type. I've got manage your credentials, create a password reset, configure advanced user profiles, change my environment variables. If I were to change the account type, all I get to do is go from standard to administrator, because this is still a local account. This is not an online account.
Okay, I think you've helped me there by showing that I can go to the control panel and find user account and then find out what's there. I think that's what I need to do.
This is not going to happen if you're running Windows 7. It's Windows
10.
Okay, well, that was really what I was asking. Where does the account come from? And evidently it comes from 10. Now, with 10, you do have accounts, and with 7, you didn't. Is that correct?
Your account can be local, or it can be your Microsoft ID account.
But if you're in Windows 7, do those things exist?
Well, you can have a Microsoft ID. You can go online to www.live.com or outlook.com or whatever else Microsoft has allowed. Hotmail, is that one of them? But
well, those are all things that I don't do. So I guess I'm drawing back from what you said, that as a Windows 7 user, at this point I don't need to worry about account because I don't have any.
Well, going forward, if you're going to buy software from Microsoft, you'll be forced to have a Microsoft ID.
Well, I'm still using Word 2010, and I don't know, I don't expect to update these things. They're going to change them for what I consider no good reason, but they didn't drag me along.
Security is a good reason.
That is what may happen, but it hasn't yet. So, I'm avoiding it.
Okay, what I'm showing you is the two ways to get to it. It's the same thing, but the secondary account, which is the Windows settings, to go to accounts.
If you have your search box displayed in your taskbar, you can either click there or use Cortana to go directly, and in the search box or using Cortana, you can directly go to control panel or to whatever item in control panel that you want to.
If you're using,
and minimize the number of steps that you have.
If you're using Cortana, I do not. I have Cortana turned off.
Well, I do too, but I'm just saying that you can do that by voice, or just with your search bar displayed in the taskbar at the lower left. You can type it in there and skip 2 or 3 steps that you're going through.
I have all that turned off.
Okay. Why do you have the search bar turned off?
I prefer not to use it, so I'm showing how to get into it based on this document. Accounts, email and app accounts. So that's how to get to it. Settings, accounts, email and app accounts. Under accounts used by other apps, select add a Microsoft account. Follow the prompts to add your Microsoft account. You may need to verify your identity by entering a confirmation code. And that's the kind of account Microsoft wants you to have. They'll ask you 3 times when we're setting up a Windows 10 computer. Where'd Robert go? Oh, on Windows 10, they'll ask you 3 times, which we've done. If you have an internet connection, do you want to set up? We'd like to get you to set up. We would prefer you to set up an online account. I prefer not to. And that's how you find it. I prefer to have a local account. I manage my stuff. I manage my content. I know where my stuff's at. And I don't have to worry about Microsoft locking me out of it. I'd be a little bit more than extremely annoyed. So this whole issue of accounts, you said came in with Windows 8?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, and I missed Windows 8. I missed Windows 8 and Windows 8.1. I saw it once, didn't like it. To me, it looked like Windows ME, and so I avoided it like the plague.
It was a good thing to miss.
So that's how to check out accounts. It's difficult to talk about Windows 7 when I don't have Windows 7 on a computer. So I'm going to go back over to Build or Buy. I'll go down here to the talking points. SlingTV, WinEra, How To Geek, change the default folder for Windows 7 libraries. Now then, let's bring us to something else. We've been talking about NVMe drives, buying a laptop with an NVMe drive. Great things are going on, great things are coming down the pike. We looked at about 3 or 4 laptops. We'll be looking at some more in the future. I would say probably sometime next month. Now, with that said, Tom's Hardware has an article about the new Samsung 970 EVO. It's a new SSD. I'm curious. You can look at the article. I won't bring it up because the ads that run are really getting annoying. Both Tom's and Extreme Technology keep running these stupid ads. But they talk about the new drive. Does it run faster? What do you really get for the money? And they talked about the driver. Apparently, their driver works best on the 2 older drives. You don't get a performance increase on the newer drive with that driver. So that apparently is going to be optimized. But there's a link if anybody wants to read about it. So I'm going to move on to the next one. If anybody's going to do video on a laptop, which to me has always been...
Gil, there's another article I recently read on that particular, the EVO.
The 970?
970 EVO, they were comparing it to Western Digital. It's got an SSD out. And apparently the Western Digital beats out the EVO on the write speeds.
See, that's a big deal.
Yeah, that's a big deal. Then, of course, they also, in addition to the EVO, they've got the Pro,
right?
Which more money, but it is the fastest SSD.
So the
Western Digital is apparently
kicking it.
Kicking it, yeah.
That's good to know. This talks some about those speeds and about other drives. The thing they point out with the Samsung is because of the warranty. The Samsung has everybody beat because of the warranty, but we're all after speed. So after 3 years, who cares? Yes, Robert.
Is this only SSDs you're talking about, or does it include VME or M.2, whatever that is?
The article specifically addresses the SSD, but if you look at the well, I wasn't going to do it. Shoot. I'll bring up the article. It shows packaging, and the packaging looks like the what do you call it?
NVMe?
No, that's not an NVMe. That's a it's part of it. That's the what do you call it?
SATA interface?
Well, it looks like the what do they call it? M1, but it's actually one end of an NVMe drive. It's not the full drive. They're just showing the end of it. The reason being, you see the notch, and you see the part number on there. It's just a piece of the drive. They're trying to show that the new part number. But this deals specifically with the NVMe SSDs and the SATA in SSDs. And they also talk about the Crucial MX500. But if I go on down here, if I can get past this little cartoon they have running, the 950, the 960, Samsung SSDs, you can read through the article. It talks about the controller that's used. This is what I like, the thing that's most interesting about it, performance limitations. And I think this is really, really interesting. Ben, don't get too far away because I think we're going to come back to Sling in a minute. Performance limitations of the PCI Express 3.0 by 4 interface are becoming the limiting factor. So now you got to wonder what's the next thing coming down the pike. PCI Express was supposed to be for 3 or 4 years. I've not seen anything else about PCI Express 4.0. And if that's becoming the limiting factor, that's curious. It's always that point of diminishing returns. So I'll go back over the talking points. Now, I mentioned about a laptop. We've talked about a couple of video editors that I like. I like DaVinci Resolve. There's a free version, a paid version. I also like Magic's Vegas Video. But Lightworks, a long time ago, that's how I found out about Red Shark News, was Lightworks. Found out about Lightworks from Mel Babb. I think the only obstacle is probably the pricing for the product. They have a free version, but it doesn't export 1080 video. The free version only exports 720. But they claim because of the efficiency of the program, Lightworks can edit 8K on a laptop. So if anybody's interested, then I got a link up on it. I've also got some stuff up here, Microsoft boosting the anti-phishing skills of Chrome, the Internet Explorer and Edge Killer. Anybody here use Microsoft Edge? Yeah, me neither. Yeah. Oh, you do?
Well, not exclusively, but I use it occasionally. It's far prettier and more polished, especially than Chrome. Chrome does have a new version out that's called Canary, and it's supposed to be a little bit more polished. And I have not downloaded it on the Windows version of it yet. I yesterday or the day before downloaded it on Mac, and I really just couldn't see much difference between the old Chrome and the new Chrome Canary.
Thanks,
but yeah, Edge is there's some things that Edge is just nicer. It scrolls faster and than Chrome, and it scrolls without the kind of glitchiness that Chrome you sometimes encounter in Chrome, and but there are things that you go to do in Edge that are not there, and I can't think of anything offhand. But overall, Chrome is still the.
I tried Chrome for a while. I liked it, but I've gone back to
Firefox.
Yeah.
I just find Firefox unsatisfying, and I know that there are several new things that Firefox has added that are particularly good.
Well, I was having trouble with it because it was a memory hog, but then I had trouble with Chrome being a bigger memory hog, so that's why I went back.
Well,
so we got a link from Jim Fallon about Google cuts fake ad blockers from the Chrome store. That would really be very upsetting. That's talking point number 20. Jim's not here today, is he? He sent this to me last week. I think it was on Thursday. So I put that up for us.
Well, the new versions, I think it's after version 64 of Chrome, are supposed to include the ad blocking themselves. But I mean, 64 is supposed to do a lot of the ad blocking already.
Good to know. I've got a link up here on Kaspersky, their TDSS killer. If anybody's had any trouble with the rootkit, and the reason I mention this, I got a call from somebody last week wanting me to come over, and I said, well, I can't. They asked me 3 times. I said, I can't. So finally I said, I'll try to come over this coming Friday. Did y'all ever see or watch the video of Ralph Gonzalez talking about spammers and scammers? More people need to see that. I want Ralph to come back and talk to us again. Based on the conversation, long story short, somebody called this family, and they were taken in by a confidence man. Long story short, they had, and I didn't know you could get the folks with AT&T to come out and do this, but they had AT&T install a clean copy of Windows on the computer. Yeah, I didn't know AT&T would come out and do that, because AT&T only does their internet, so they must have paid dearly for that. So anyway, I'm going out to check this computer out, and after they told me what was wrong, I tried to walk them through it, and I saw that wasn't going to work. First of all, I got to verify their internet works, and I've got to separate it. Then I'm going to see if their computer has a bug. And if all they did was reinstall Windows, did they wipe the drive? How'd they wipe the drive? Did they do a low-level format? Yeah, I don't know. So anyway, I put the link up to TDSS Killer in case they've got a root kit or a boot kit. That'll take care of it. And I'm going to run all the stuff we normally run to isolate and see if I can clear it up. I figure it's probably going to take me a couple of hours. But they said they realized after they talked to this person, somebody with an accent from a foreign company from a foreign country who said they were with Microsoft. You know, somebody calls you from the Philippines or somebody calls you from India or Pakistan and they say they're with Microsoft, don't believe it. And if they tell you to give me access to your computer, and by the way, give me your credit card number, don't let them sell you anything. Never give anybody personal information over the phone. Just hang up, move on. So anyway, they were taken in by this, and their computer, they can't get on the internet. So I don't know if their internet's messed up, which I doubt, or if their computer's messed up. And if the computer's messed up, I don't know how bad it is. So I'm going to go over there with another computer with my little USB stick and isolate their computer and see if I can get things running satisfactorily. But I'm hoping I can do it in a couple of hours, and I'll let you guys know next week how bad off it was. But don't get taken in by folks. And a lot of these scams, and I've got a link up to another scam here, that they're working on the Chinese right now. They're calling people with a Chinese last name and telling them that they owe money and they need to get in touch with the Chinese consulate and pay them right now. I'll say this, folks, if somebody contacts you, take a breath, take a moment, ask a friend for their 2 cents worth on what's going on, whether you're Chinese, American, or whatever. And if somebody's trying to scam you for some money, or if they call and say, oh, you got relatives or whatever that are in jail or whatever, don't believe them. Stop and take a breath. Yes, David.
Last weekend, the Houston Area Apple User Group met, and we had Dwight Silverman as our guest speaker, and more about that in a little while. But he mentioned something that I was unaware of. He said that if you have an AT&T landline and you're bothered by these calls, spam calls, you can protect yourself by installing an app on your, I believe you can do it on Windows or Mac, but certainly you can do it on your phone. An app from AT&T that's called Call Protect, and I haven't tried this yet because I don't have an AT&T landline and I don't have an AT&T cell phone, but
I can see I'd work with a cell phone, but I don't understand how an app would work with a landline.
Dwight swore by it, and some other guys that were there at the Hog meeting swore by it too. And
what's the name?
Dwight said that it's called Call, C-A-L-L, Protect. And evidently Comcast Xfinity has something similar.
AT&T Call Protect.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I haven't tried it out, but that is something to have. My parents, each one had strange calls from my nephew, my brother's son, who lives in Norway, and is from Florida. And this guy was asking my mom, hello, Grandma, I'm here in Florida and I need some money.
Oh, one of those.
And the next day, my dad got a call, but my dad asked, "Well, where's your father?" And the guy hung up and didn't call back. But
and what did he say?
He just hung up.
I have a neighbor. He's 94 years old. And when he gets a call for money, he just sends them off money. So we've had a long talk with him and told him that it's a scam. So next time we go and see him, he says, you know, you told me this guy was a scam, and he's not, because I contacted him and asked him if he was scamming me, and the guy said no.
Yeah.
What's that number?
Yeah.
So you know, there's a lot of naive people out there.
I have, in the last couple of weeks, I've been through the email of a couple of my clients who have AT&T phone and landlines and or cell phones or UVerse, and their inboxes were just rife, just full of
junk,
of stuff from AT&T saying that you know, the subject line is, you know, you got to do this and such, or else, you know, we're gonna cut your line or such, and you have to click on the actual or click on or set your preferences so that it shows the actual sender and not just sender being AT&T, because the sender ends up being something entirely different that has nothing to do with AT&T. But just to remind you know, if you get something from AT&T or any other, your bank or whatever, and don't just go clicking on those things, you know, on the links in the email to start off with.
Oh, absolutely. I got one this morning from one of the banks. I told Mom, I said, I think this looks suspicious, but I need to spend some time doing some research. It was telling me what all this stuff I need to do, and I said, you know, the URL looks right, even the underlying code looks right, but I said the message just doesn't ring true. So I said, I'm in a hurry. I'll deal with it tonight when I get in. Some of the worst are the calls where they'll use your area code and maybe your prefix and trying to make it look like that call is coming from within your area, like it might be a neighbor. I very frequently go search those. That's what I like about Google Voice. I keep track of all that stuff. So if I get repeated calls, I have an idea that I look up. Today, driving in, I had a couple of area code numbers that I didn't recognize. I just hung up, let them go straight to voicemail. So that way I can check the number out later. Some other stuff that's going on, I mentioned the, last week we talked about the new Ryzen 7 2700. I've got an article up here from Extreme Tech where somebody, can AMD overtake Intel's Coffee Lake processor. We're going to be probably looking at building some computers here in the coming months. We're also going to be looking at some new laptops, like I mentioned, that MSI MS65. The first model, it should be coming out by the end of this month, and I would expect in a couple of days. And the model I'm interested in is probably going to be about 3 weeks off. And the best I've had looking up that particular model for a ship date was from Newegg. I'm going to go to their site and I'll show you what I'm talking about. There's several different versions of it. It's the MSI GS65. What it has going for it is the size. Okay, the first one will be out 427. The one I'm looking at is probably going to be 510 of 2018. It's thin. Now, as I said, I judge all laptops by the Asus Zen 4K that Lou, Andrew, Nick Streeter has. This does not cover that. That was a better deal for the price. This is a great laptop for the specs, and the only thing it has as an advantage over that is it's thin. The thickness of this is less than the height of a dime up on edge, and it's like around 4 pounds, so weight-wise it's close to the same. It's not a 4K display. It does have a high refresh rate for what it's worth, but it's a 6-core processor. So it's a better processor and it's got better video. But at what price? Not everybody needs that. But it's a beautiful laptop. I'm hoping we're going to get a chance to look at one of those next month. We'll see. But I'm still keeping track of it. There's some other talking points there. Did y'all know that Costco had a LG laptop? First of all, did y'all know that LG made a laptop? I'm going to click on that and I'll show you. Control, talking point number 16. I'm always going looking because Costco's changing stuff. They had a couple of desktop computers I hope we were going to look at. They're gone. The reason I bring this up and wanted to show you, right now, if you buy a computer at Costco, this screen will pop up that says $100 off select LG monitors. There's 2 monitors that'll come up on this. One of them is a 4K monitor. It's an expensive monitor, but at $100 off, you know, it has potential. But this LG touchscreen for $1,500, 15-inch touchscreen, 16 gigs of memory, a 512 gig SSD. It's $150 off right now, plus with the additional deal. It's an 8550, so you got 4 cores, 8 threads, claims 16 hours of battery life. The one thing it has going for it, the majority, look at the weight. 2.41 pounds. Now the average 17-inch laptop is about 6 pounds. I've seen them go up 7 pounds, 7.1. But I think that's got to be the thinnest one or the lightest one I've seen. I don't know if it's the thinnest, but that's got to be the lightest. This is even lighter than the MSI MS65. As far as thickness, it's got the right amount of ports on it. You got an SD card, 2 USB 3 ports. Yes, 1 USB-C port. You got your headphones. On the other side, I don't know if we get a picture of the other side. Yes, on the other side. Oh, there's the USB-C. So what was that other port? That may be Kensington lock right there. If that's Kensington lock, then on the other side, there's the USB-C port. USB-C, HDMI, a USB 3, and power. There is no hardwired internet connection, so that'll have to come out of a USB 3 port. That looks interesting for the size. Like I said, I didn't know LG made a laptop. I stumbled into that. Now it says it's a 512 gig SSD, got fingerprint on it. My guess that's probably an M.2. I don't know if it's an NVMe. It's really annoying. The only ones that are specific about telling you if it's an NVMe happens to be the Dells on Costco's website. And again, to reiterate, the reason I like buying one from Costco, if it ain't what you want, it goes back. Gives you an idea of the keyboard. It's a lit keyboard. Fingerprint logon. 16 gigs of memory. It doesn't tell if it's 1 stick or 2. The 512 gig M.2. There it is. It doesn't say if it's an NVMe drive. I would think it'd be a waste of money if they didn't do that. And it's got the default Intel graphics 620. So that's shared video. Now it says this has an RJ45 Ethernet port. I didn't see it. Turn it on. Flip it up.
On LG's site for that model, it states its interface is SATA, so that would not be an NVMe.
Well, this says M.2.
It says it's an M.2 SSD, but then it says its interface is SATA.
Right, so it's just a standard M.2 drive. For something like that, I'm really surprised that they would do that, because you're talking 640 megabit versus 32 or 3500 megabit transfer rate. Now the question asks, that's the drive that's in it, but is that the interface? And the reason I ask that question is because we've seen at Costco, the HP laptop they neutered. They took the socket out. I would think if it had an M.2 socket, it would have an NVMe socket, but we don't know. But I'm curious enough. The specs on it look pretty amazing. Long battery life, but the weight, 2.5 pounds, less than 2.5 pounds. The lightest laptops I've been seeing have been running 4 pounds. And even that new MSI is right at 4 pounds. So $1,500, you're paying for the fact that it's light, super light.
I'd like to speak about something about Windows 10 updates
Sure.
in a bit.
Windows 10?
Yeah. Now, recently I've encountered a couple of problems people have been having with Windows 10 updating. Mainly people that have failed to do the updates when they should have, to
Right.
allow them. And
In a timely manner.
right. With Windows Home, it pretty much forces you to do what's called feature updates. And
Right.
remember that in the past we had different named systems like Windows 95, Windows 98, Windows 98 SE, Windows, what was it, Millennia, then Windows 2, whatever they were, 2000, Vista, 7, 8,
Now we
8,
go by-
1, 10.
now we go by build.
But now there will be nothing else other than Windows 10 in the future. And they have, when they do major updates, they're called feature updates. And depending on the version of Windows that you have, you may or may not be able to delay or refuse those Windows feature updates. If you have Windows Home, then your Windows Home will stop working if you have in some way figured out how to keep it from
Updating?
like
Like a metered connection?
or
no internet?
or no internet. And you have 18 months after the release of a version for the life of that version.
Another reason to look at React OS.
Version 1609, which was 16 is the year 2016 and 9 was the September 1609, recently became defunct if you hadn't updated it by, I think it was April 10th. And subsequent versions have also had problems. If you don't do your updates on time, you can run in. Well, for instance, let me tell you, one Windows 10 Pro user I know had failed to allow updates just this last week, and when he did, and he called me up late one night and said, David, Windows just will not give me any option other than to go ahead and update this or delay it for 1 hour. And I've been delaying it for 1 hour for all day long. And I've got to go home soon. What should I do? And I said, well, there's not a whole lot that you can do, but we backed up your system not too long ago. I'm not too terribly worried about it. But the next day he called me up and said, Dave, come over and take a look, because when I restarted the computer, all I have is a screen that's got static on it or something like that. I figured that, well, hopefully it's just a driver or something like that. And indeed, it turned out that after, well, let me back up a second. When you go through the updating process, Windows tells you that don't turn off the computer because we're going to restart it several times.
Right, and don't touch it because you can mess up the account.
Yeah.
Let it finish, or else you get locked out of your account. Then your tears in your beer.
But as it turned out, my thought was, well, I'll take a HDMI cable and attach an external monitor and see if it's just the video display that's, the driver is.
Didn't do any good, did it?
Well, actually, on my way to getting to that point of attaching the monitor, it went ahead and restarted and then did complete and then got a login screen. But immediately after that, Dell wanted to do some updates.
Their own updates.
And it included a video card
driver.
update and a BIOS update and
Yeah.
such, and that really should have been done before the
Before instead of after the fact.
yeah. So anytime that you've got a feature update coming up, be sure and go to your manufacturer if you haven't built your own computer, and at least the manufacturer for the motherboard, and check for any updates.
Good point. Good to remember. And also, according to what Sue had told us, I believe with the latest build now that Microsoft keeps that build of version Windows alive so that it doesn't shut down. In previous builds, Windows would shut down, and so those updates wouldn't occur unless you had the power profile set to stay alive.
Yeah, and by the way, if you are experiencing problems with it either shutting down, long shutdown times or long startup times, you can go into your control panel into power and look at advanced items, and there is some things that you can turn on there that will actually turn off quick startup. And what quick startup is actually adjusting how the thing turns off. And quick startup allows things to not be completely turned off. When
Fast startup, yeah. We talked about that last week,
Okay.
but that's still good to mention. By default, it's on. It's how the power buttons. That was about Windows rebooting, and I think Dwayne was the one that sent us the information. Because when Windows reboots, it saves the state of the kernel. And the only way to get that refreshed is to reboot it. So if you remove that fast startup, so when you shut it down, it actually shuts down the kernel.
And just back to some Windows basics that we should all remember is it doesn't hurt. In fact, it's really good hygiene to do a clean install of Windows every
Used to, we'd say
year
about
or
every 6
two,
months,
but
but
I think it's still good.
get the cobwebs out.
Yeah, and another thing is that Windows keeps a huge amount of space for the old operating system on your drive. And
Well, we've talked about that in the past before, to clean that stuff out, how to do that and why to do that, as well as if the data store gets corrupted. Sometimes if the Windows updates won't occur and it just sits there cycling through it. We did a video about that where we talked a few weeks ago, how to clean that out. It's good to go back and refresh it.
And you were talking about screen captures. Microsoft is introducing a brand new way of doing screen captures in the version that's going to be coming out this fall.
Which would be the spring.
And I haven't paid much attention to exactly how it works, other than one of the things it does is that instead of when you select an area, instead of it selecting a rectangle, it selects a circle, which really doesn't sound very good to me. But I mean, what things are circular?
Yeah, I agree. What is circular? I like the fact that the Windows key with the print screen will do it. They should have done that a long time ago. So you get the full screen when you got an error, because like John Lund had that error. I'd like to know what that was. For example, the error that John had a year ago, it took us that long to figure out why he kept getting that comment up, and it was because there was an install of SpyBot Search and Destroy where it had enabled that component that was not installed, which was the antivirus, which he didn't have.
Oh, and by the way, talking about screen captures, one of the things that is available on the Macintosh operating system, on Mac OS, that evidently is going to be adopted by Windows.
Oh, and I saw Mac is getting ready to start making their own processors.
Yes.
Wow.
But
Getting away from Intel.
There's a program called Preview that handles screen captures on the Mac, and if you save your screen capture as a PDF, you can also make it editable.
Nice.
So,
do they have a PC version of it?
no.
Bummer.
No, but evidently this new version of screen capture that Windows is going to have in this fall is going to be able to have editable. So
Nice.
you can screen capture a form and then go back in and edit the
That's a big deal.
slots. Yeah, I mean, instead of using an Adobe product for $300 or for
That's
$10 a month.
That's a very big deal. Glad to know about that. And so have you seen anything on the new spring update that's supposed to be coming out?
Well, you know, it's supposed to be any day now.
That's what they keep saying.
It's going to start rolling out, but I haven't seen any invites yet.
They'll probably hit us up on a Wednesday. That's what they usually do. Has anybody got any more questions today or comments? Folks, hope you enjoyed this today. I want to thank you for coming. Appreciate everybody online. This is Builder Buy. We do this on Wednesdays. There's a few things we try to cover inclusively. Sometimes we get into other stuff and we get off on whatever the interest is. Sometimes we try to answer questions. Sometimes it's about some of the new technology. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Hope we'll see you next week, and appreciate your support, and thanks for subscribing. Y'all have a great day. We'll look forward to seeing you next week.